Welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, Best Picture Series, where we talk about all the Academy Award Best Pictures, past to present.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, a Canuck.
And today we're going to be talking about In the Heat of the Night. It's a 1967 film. This is the 40th film to win Best Picture. So about this film, it won Best Picture, of course, but it also won Best Actor, Best Screenplay, Best Film Editing, and Best Sound. So kind of weird that it won those 5 awards and nothing for director or anything like that. The movie The Graduate, the director for that one won Best Director for some reason.
Yeah, that's a big movie too.
Yeah.
This one's directed by Norman Jewison, and he's done so many movies. Fiddler on the Roof, Tom's Crown Affair.
Mm-hmm.
He was nominated the year before for The Russians Are Coming. The Russians Are Coming.
Yeah.
My favorite movies of his is probably The Hurricane with Denzel. That's probably my favorite film of his, other than this film.
And also, he's Canadian, is he not?
He is. He is Canadian.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Interesting. So, yeah, it's also, I mean, like, in terms of the Best Picture nominees, also for this year, it's pretty interesting. This is where we're starting to see a shift. Films are no longer hoity-toity. They're no longer big, sparkling spectacles. Now they're getting to more gritty, edgy, modern in that sense, you know, more closer to realism. So not only do we have In the Heat of the Night, we have Bonnie and Clyde, one exception being Dr. Dolittle, which is, I think you mentioned that a couple of episodes ago. Starring Rex Harrison. Of course, The Graduate, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. So I've seen The Graduate. It's a pretty good movie. I've seen bits of Bonnie and Clyde. I don't know enough to really rule whether or not that's good. But, you know, we're not here to talk about those. We're here to talk about In the Heat of the Night. So what is this movie about? Basically, it's about this black cop that gets, like, pulled into this whole affair in Mississippi where he has to solve a murder. Meanwhile, all the white folk in town are trying to kill him. That's the film. Yeah.
Yep. Virgil Tibbs, Detective Tibbs, he's out of Philly and he's visiting his mom in Sparta, Mississippi, and he's taking the train back, right? And then he gets apprehended. Initially he's blamed for a murder. And then they realize he's a cop and they're like, okay, we could use some help here. And local cops are right there, you know, very incompetent and obviously racist, and the whole town is racist. So
yeah, it's
ridiculous. And
so I mean, that's essentially, it's a civil rights film, in other words. So yeah, I did not know anything about this. You've already seen the film before.
I've seen it several times. Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, there you go. I've never heard of this film. I did know of the famous line that's said in this film. It's actually considered one of the greatest movie quotes of all time, which is, "They call me Mr. Tibbs." You know, it's famously said, of course, by Sidney Poitier, who plays Virgil Tibbs.
Correct.
So I knew about that line, and I think I knew it as early as The Lion King. There's a scene where Pumbaa, towards the end of that film, they call me Mr. Pig. I remember hearing that. Yeah. But I was just like, I didn't know that was from a film already. You know, I didn't know it was a parody. So of course, many years later, I heard the actual line and I was like, oh, okay, where's that from? I didn't know. It just lapsed from memory. Then finally, then finally getting to this film, I was like, what the hell is this about? I have no idea. And I started reading the source material based on a book, of course. It's a book by Mr. John Ball. That guy is weird. When you read about this guy, he was a cop, he was a magician, he was I wouldn't be surprised if he was an undertaker too. He did all kinds of different things here and there. He did martial arts. He was a nudist.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just an oddball fella. And this book, In the Heat of the Night, is actually his first book ever. He was like in his 50s, I think, when this book dropped. So when he pitched it to his editors, they all tried to tell him, like, listen, you got to change the main character. Like, what do you mean? He's black, okay? Make him white. And he was like, no. No, what are you talking about? I'm not doing that. And obviously, if you've read the book or seen the film, which most people have probably over the book, you know, you can see that him being black is really, really important to the story. It helps drive the story forward in a meaningful way. But here's the thing, too. After reading so many terrible books up to this point, I think the last one I read was the Sound of Music memoir, which is really good. And that was like, okay, this next book is about almost 200 pages. Okay, very light read. I can't wait to get through this thing. Read the first chapter, and I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. It's set up. You can, in the book, it's actually set in North Carolina, not Mississippi. It's one of many alterations, actually, believe it or not. But reading through this, I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is kind of interesting. Oh, this is like a detective noir sort of thriller. Okay, I could jive with this. Because the guy who wrote the book, John Ball, he's also a big Sherlock Holmes fan. No surprise there, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
It reads just like a Sherlock Holmes book. So by the time you get to chapter 2 or the end of chapter 1, that's when you're finally introduced to Mr. Tibbs. And it's really interesting. It's just like in the film, where he's just reading a book in a bench, minding his own business. Then this cop comes in. He's just like, hey, what are you doing, boy? He's like, I'm reading a book. Nah, I think you committed a murder. Come with me. And he's like, okay, whatever. And the guy who arrests him is Sam Wood, right? The cop. So when taken to the station, that's when you realize, when he's faced with Chief Gillespie, that he's actually a cop. He shows him the badge and everything. When that's presented, if that's presented at the end of one of the chapters, I think it's chapter 2, I was like, okay, I think I'm in for a ride here. And then as I keep reading it, it got better and better and better. By the end of the book, I was like, this is an amazing book. This book is really good. And I was actually a little concerned that the film wouldn't be quite as good. But of course, we're going to get into that in a moment. But yeah, the book, highly recommended. It's a sparse read, as I mentioned, but it's also a really, really good read. It's so clever. If anything, my only complaints about the book is that the romance is really bad. There's a subplot in there for Sam Wood and one of the other characters. The guy didn't know how to write romance. And also, there's a little bit of action in the book, too, and it's awkwardly described. You know, I had to read it a couple times. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, he didn't know how to write action very well or romance, but in terms of the unraveling mystery in the book, it's really well done. And the movie mostly takes from the book here and there, but, you know, the book is very rich, and I'm kind of disappointed that the movie didn't really follow some of the major things in the book. Another thing, too, I found out that they made a TV series out of this, too.
They did, yeah. And Rob Steiger was replaced. Instead it's Carol O'Connor, Archie Bunker.
And, I noticed that. Who played Tibbs?
I forgot.
Not Richard Pryor or anything like that, right?
No.
Let's quickly see here.
Howard Rollins.
Yes. Well, yeah, so I mean, like, this book spawned, you know, movie, TV series, and such, and it also spawned 2 more books featuring the character that weren't as successful as the first one. And they made 2 sequels to this film, too, neither of which are based on the books. So, yeah, they just basically took the character and just did whatever they want with him. So I'm like, whatever. But yeah, I mean, Tibbs is a great character because he's written incredibly straight. You know what I mean? He's just like, he's obviously very intelligent, he's very tolerable, and he's willing to defend himself whenever possible, but he's also willing to, like, back out whenever he needs to as well. In the movie, he's more aggressive than he is in the book. In the book, he's very much like, live and let live. Let's let the white folk do their thing. And then when it's appropriate, I'll step in and I'll do my thing in the book. And, you know, honestly, you could easily swap the name Virgil Tibbs with Sherlock Holmes and there wouldn't be any difference. That's how well written I feel the character is, where it's just like, it at times it didn't matter that he was black. You know what I mean? But, you know, as I mentioned, in the film, it's integral because he's placed in a very racist town, and you got everyone who's after him because of the fact he's black. And even the police department that's, you know, working with him in this town, they're just like, oh, we got to work with this guy, really? And, you know, a lot of resentment.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's full of prejudice and you know, so, but with that, you know, murder mystery, crime noir style. And so, yeah.
So, I mean, like, it opens up with the murder, obviously. You got to start with that, right? And then that's when you get to the arrest. And then, you know, because Virgil's not from this town. Like you said, he's visiting his mother. He's from, I think he's from Philadelphia. Okay. In the book, he's actually from Southern California. I think he's from Pasadena. But
Oh,
this,
interesting. I
yeah,
think in the sequel, in They Call Me Mr. Tibbs, which I think came out in '70, I think that one is in California. He's in San Francisco in
San
that
Francisco,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah, he left the Philly department and went to the Bay Area.
There you go. Not trying to make it a little closer to the book, but it's not quite. That's like Northern California. He's from Southern California in the book, but
Ah, yes,
yeah,
yes.
or at least that's where he works. But be it as it may, he takes a look at this murder, investigates the body, and then he goes hopping around town trying to find clues. Okay, like who did this with what weapon and whatnot. So it's a slowly unraveling mystery. There are a couple of subplots as well. So one, there's a Mr. and Mrs. Purdy, which are these real hick mother that live in a house, and they're integral to the plot in the sense where they implicate the character Sam Wood at some point, saying that he's the murderer, and not only that, he's the father to this child's baby.
Yeah,
Yeah, I say child because like the character, I think what's her name, Dolores Purdy, she's introduced
yeah.
as a 16-year-old, same thing as in the book. But you find out later, I don't know if they reveal it at the end of this movie, I forgot, but in the book it's revealed she's actually 18.
Hmm.
So the only reason people assumed she was 16 is because she was still going to school, but she was held back 2 grades.
Hmm.
So people just kind of forgot she was 18. And also in the book too, like that's her father, that's her caretaker. In the movie,
Okay,
it's actually her brother.
her brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they change. That's one of the many changes I mentioned. But yeah, I mean, like, it's a pretty good film overall. Like, when you see the scenery, there's a lot of grit involved. Like, the way they shot this film was
Absolutely.
different, and it was different on purpose because Sidney Poitier was the main character in this. And typically, the way black actors were shot, they were shot in a particular different kind of way in terms of the lighting, where it washed over their look. So it didn't have a very flattering complexion. So they had to shoot it differently in this case. So that way you can actually see all the finer details of Sidney Poitier's face and stuff like that. So as a result, you get a harsher lighting. And so it looks really gritty if you really notice. And because of that, I think it makes the film feel dirtier because when you look at the buildings, they're falling apart. There's smudge stains, everything. You could almost smell the musk coming in, emanating from the film. Like, and you could feel the heat as well, hence the title, because, it's a very, very humid area. So you could see the sweat, you could feel the sweat. It just has a grimy, gritty feel to it. And it helps with that atmosphere that they're trying to convey.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Those are all things you're going to notice, the use of shadows, that focus, the lighting, and I think, all these things helped the cinematography and, kind of set up that, that stark palette,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is characteristic of that, noir mystery drama style that you see, so it's kind of composed in that way in addition. So
Yeah.
great. It's just really good.
Yeah. So like the look of the film is great. The way the story goes is pretty good for the most part. I mean, just like, again, by the time you get to the end of the film, you find out who the killer is and you find out why they did what they did. And throughout the journey too, you have people, trying to thwart the mission of trying to resolve the murder. And you got that subplot with the Purdy's. You also got a subplot with the chief, Gillespie, where he's just, at first he doesn't want anything to do with Tibbs. But over the course of the film, he realizes, like, this guy's a good asset. He knows what he's doing. We are pretty incompetent, honestly. So let's aid this dude, make sure he's got a car, make sure he's got support, make sure he's got what he needs to get in order to resolve this issue. It's not that different in the book. The only real difference between that main plot thread and in the book is that the book involves 3 characters, Tibbs, Gillespie, and, believe it or not, Wood. Wood is featured in the film, but he's kind of in and out. He's not really a major character. He's also treated as an idiot in the film, whereas in the book, he's more competent. He's like the typical hard-boiled kind of detective kind of character you expect. He's not, he's actually not that smart still, but he's not completely stupid either. He's just stubborn and stuck in his ways. And Virgil comes in, and, he gives him a schooling. He tells him, like, this is what you need to do on your job. And at first he's very resentful, but over time he gives more of a respect towards Virgil. He's like, you know what? He may be colored man, but he's a peer and I respect him and I'm willing to defend him. And he does. And Gillespie also has pretty good screen time in the book, or pretty good like amount of time in the book in the story. But in the movie, I think what they decided to do is because Rod Steiger plays Gillespie, they're like, we got these two guys, Poitier and Steiger. Let's just give them the bulk of the screen time, because Steiger, I didn't realize this. He actually plays Marlon Brando's brother in On the Waterfront. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm like, he's really good in this film compared to that film. So I think he really shines here, and I feel like the filmmakers were all like, "This guy, let's let the guy cook, Let's not interfere." So they had to consolidate certain things in order to make the film more streamlined in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting because Gillespie, obviously says, he admits early on in the movie that he's not an expert. He's not a homicide expert. He doesn't know what he's doing. So, he needs his help. And then, of course, they go back and forth in the movie. It's like, get out of town, leave. Oh, no, actually come back. I need your help.
Yeah, boy.
So, and then, gives him a deadline. Like, okay, we'll by tomorrow you have to have this done, or you just leave town. And
yeah.
So there's a lot of that, like, all right, I'm going to go to the train station and leave, but
I'm out of here.
But eventually, they do, and the cops just really want to apprehend someone. They even apprehend some guy. I think his name is Harvey, right? And they're convinced he did it. And obviously, Tibbs, within 5 minutes, realizes he's not, because he's not left-handed.
Exactly.
And so, Tibbs is obviously an expert detective, and, these guys don't know, and the rest of the department doesn't really know what they're doing. So
exactly. What kind of disappointed me when it came to that is, like, again, with the book, it's more expertly crafted and some things make more sense. Like, given what you just said, by the way, the guy who plays Harvey is Herschel from The Walking Dead.
That's right. Yeah.
Fun fact. But in the book, the circumstance to him getting arrested is all the same. But when he's there, he actually has a little bit of time, and he decides to look into the body himself. He becomes a little curious. He does his investigations, and then there's a councilman from the town who overhears him talk about the things he found about the body. And it's a big deal in the book, because the guy they killed in the book is one of the ringleaders for this music festival. And that is a huge plot point, which I don't think is made mention in the film at all. I think he's just a random guy they just killed. I forgot what the importance is.
So he's in the movie, it's Mr. Colbert. He's a business owner and entrepreneur, and he's actually setting up a massive factory in Sparta, Mississippi. So he's a very important person. That's why his wife, Mrs. Colbert, insists that Tibbs works on the case, because he knows what he's doing, and he'll find out who the killer is. And that's why she actually threatens the sheriff department, the police department, saying that Tibbs better work on this, or else we're not going to build the factory.
There you go.
Going to bring in thousands of jobs.
So that was a businessman. Okay.
So he was kind of I don't know if he's a tycoon, but well known and
well connected guy.
So
So essentially in the book, it's a councilman, and one of the guys goes to the station, overhears Virgil overlooking the body, and he's like, "Hey, listen, I think you got to get this guy on the job, because he knows what he's doing. He sounds like he's very knowledgeable." And Gillespie is like, "Listen, dude, I don't want this guy. Listen, I'm the chief. I know what I'm doing. I'm the head honcho. I'm the boss man." That's his attitude throughout the entire book. But he's always constantly thwarted, either by Virgil or a councilman or someone. And then he's always having to, like, sit back in his chair, and he's like, "Fine, I'll let you do the job." Because one of the things in the book too is that the chief is, like, told at one point, I think by the councilman, like, "Listen, let this Virgil guy do the work." And he's like, "Why? I could do it." Well, here's the thing. If you can't do the job, you're newly appointed, you could easily be voted out. However, if you let this guy do the job and he does it well and he solves the case, you could take all the credit, because he's just a colored guy. And the chief is like, But if he fails, you can always blame him. It was all his fault. Your job is secured. Either way, you either get all the glory, or it's like, it's nipped in the bud and nothing happens to you. And Gillespie in the book is like, "All right, I'll let Virgil do his thing then, whatever." That's the driving reason why he does it. In the movie, he just kind of does it because it's just like, "I'm kind of stupid. Why don't you do the job for me?" And it's just like, that's kind of lame. I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of pressure from Mrs. Colbert, right? Because that factory is so important to get built. So basically, they need to uncover this mystery: who murdered Mr. Colbert, and so it's kind of critical for the economy of that town and the future of the town. So there is
That
some
is true.
pressure there. So
Yeah, and you mentioned that too. It's just like also the whole thing with the plot twist in the book is that the guy they killed was for that music festival. That's because the town is such a podunk town, middle of nowhere. It was getting no tourist revenue whatsoever. It was kind of a dying town. So this music
yeah,
festival was one of those things where it could really help them get all that tourist revenue and become a hot spot. So they were really
yeah,
really riding on this thing. And the death of this dude was very, very mysterious. Like how the hell this whole thing happened. And since we do spoilers anyway, we might as well give it away. You find out it's the soda jerk that killed the guy at the end of the
exactly.
movie.
Yeah,
Same ending as the book.
Ralph.
So,
His name is Ralph in the
yes,
film.
exactly.
It's
So
basically he didn't intend to murder Colbert. He just wanted to rob him. So he ended up hitchhiking with him, and then was like, "I'm just gonna jump him, take his wallet, because he needs that money to pay for an abortion because he got
Dolores.
what's her name, Dolores, pregnant, right?
Yes.
So I think he needed $100 for the abortion, and so the only person who's got that kind of money in their pocket would be Mr. Colbert.
Yeah.
And so that was his intent. So
Yeah, but when he does it, he freaks out and he ends up transporting the body, forgets about the wallet. That's how Harvey gets the wallet because he's like, oh, random wallet, I'll take the money.
yeah,
And that's how he got,
exactly.
became the suspect.
So Harvey, I was a suspect because he was on the run, had the wallet, and then of course Tibbs doesn't even obviously proves that it wasn't him, and Tibbs is initially his main suspect is the plantation owner.
Yes.
What's his name? Endicott.
Endicott,
Because Endicott was a rival to Colbert and was opposed to the factory being built. And Endicott, I think, is the most influential, powerful guy in the town. So this would change things for him as well. So he wanted to, make sure that the factory's not established.
Exactly. So, that dude was still stuck in the 19th century too, the 1800s.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, all the black people picking cotton, a black butler, and you have this old guy in this clear plantation. I'm like, bro, what era is this? What's going on here?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many great scenes in this movie, and obviously the most famous and excellent one is when Tibbs slaps him back.
Yes. That was actually that was said to be improvised. Like in the original outline for the screenplay, it wasn't written that way. Like Tibbs was very much the character in the book. But Sidney Poitier, yeah. I think he was influential in the sense where he wanted his character to fight back more or hold his ground more. That's why the film ended up being a little different. And that was one of the things where at some point in the script stage, he went up to the screenwriter or the director, whoever, and he's like, listen, when the guy slaps me, I'm going to slap him back. And at first they were like, why would you do that? Because I want to show strength. Let me do it. They're like, all right. So they wrote it in there and they did it. And it is a very iconic scene. It's very, like when I first saw that scene, I was laughing. I was like, oh my God, he did that.
Yeah, it was great. I was actually, for me, I was like, slap him again, do it again.
I know, right? Slap him down, beat him. Put those petunias, stick him down his throat. Just like.
Yeah, he goes there because in the car, he found that fern root. And so that is something that he suspected would be at the plantation owner's place. And it was. So he was kind of playing him the whole time and then kind of accused him. And so, yeah, that's a really pivotal scene. Very good scene.
Yeah. Yeah, no different in the book, too. Like, he was his main suspect, but towards the end, he finds out it's Ralph, and then he gives a big speech as to how he came to that conclusion. One of the things he mentioned is that Endicott, he was just so pissed off at this guy. He was like, I'm going to nail it on this guy. This guy has to be the guy. But then he realizes, like, this is really influencing my detective skills in a bad way. I'm reaching my conclusion already without the evidence. Yeah. So he had to go back to what he's supposed to do. And that's how he found the actual culprit, which I thought was interesting because that's him in the book, at least, admitting to weakness. Like, hey, listen, like he's not a perfect guy. He was already dead set on like basically framing this guy being no different from the cops in the area. And he's like, I'm not like this. I got to do better.
Yeah. Well, he knows that. I mean, it's personal, right? So because, I mean, this plantation owner is horrible, and Tibbs has probably dealt with people like him his whole life and being mistreated and all that. And so you really want to bring someone like that down and it's, it's sickening that someone like Endicott, who's just a terrible person,
Hmm.
has so much influence and power and all that. And so,
Exactly.
so,
So
but yeah, like you said, it was kind of affecting his judgment when it comes to the actual case. Although there was evidence there, and it was like, okay, this might be there's something there. There's motive, obviously,
well, it was circumstantial
and
though.
there's
I mean,
some,
it was just
yeah,
it wasn't
yeah,
really hard. And of course, this is the 1960s. This is where this film is set in, and I believe the book is set in as well. It's never explicitly stated, but
yeah.
but yeah, it's really really hard. The DNA testing was virtually non-existent during this time.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so you can
yeah,
imagine trying to solve a crime without any of that stuff. It's just virtually impossible, but somehow he's able to pull it off.
yeah. But yeah, so many memorable scenes. That one, I like the one scene I really like is when the mechanic, he tells Tibbs that he's going to stay with him and his family instead of a hotel, and he takes a suitcase. I don't know. It's just such a
Yeah.
nice act of kindness in the movie.
Yeah.
In such an awful place. So it's nice to see that. But
Yeah, that's a cool moment. Like, it's just if anything, my disappointment stems from the fact that the film seems a little fragmented to me and it's a little rushed in parts. That's my only real complaint. Otherwise, it's a solid film. And plus, when I first saw the film, I was like, this film kind of looks like a made for TV film. Like, is this a real Best Picture winner? Because of the way it looked. But after a
right,
while, I got used to it because, you're used to really fancy, well lit, beautifully choreographed films at this point, right?
yeah,
Even the crappy films in this series are just like, well, at least there's some production value. This one virtually just looks like it looks like a couple of kids just shot this film. That's how it looks, but it's such a good film. It's well directed, it's well acted, it's well written for the most part. But like I said, even the book has its problems too. Like sometimes it just rushes things here and there where things are going smoothly, but then there's just like, oh, we got to wrap up this little plot point. Let me just do this and that. I could feel it reading it and I could feel it watching it. And I feel like the film's a little more egregious at that, where it's like what? It's like an hour, 40 minutes or something like that. It's a pretty short film compared to the films we've been seeing so far, right?
yeah. I think it's almost 2 hours. Yeah,
Almost
it's
two
about
hours.
2 hours. Yeah,
Even though I'm a little fatigued watching these 3 hour films, it could have benefited by being a little bit longer and being a little bit more faithful to the book, in my opinion.
that's fair. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, overall, just good film, and like you said, the acting is great, and Sidney Poitier is obviously incredible, and can't believe he wasn't nominated for Best Actor. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he did already win the
So
best actor, or he won a best supporting actor prior.
he won for. Did he win for Lilies of the Field? I think a couple of years before that.
I mentioned it in one of
64, I
the.
think.
I mentioned it in one of the
90,
episodes, but I don't.
1964. I'm pretty sure.
I'm gonna take your word for it and say that you're right, but
Yeah, that's a good movie. I've seen a couple. I've seen 3 or 4 of his movies, and what's the one with the blind girl? I've seen that one as well. Blue, Patch of Blue, I think that's what it was. Can't remember. Um, and Rod Steiger is good too. As Bill
oh,
Gillespie.
they're both great together.
So yeah,
Honestly, I
yeah.
mean, like that's
Even
really
even the supporting cast was good. They were exactly their part. They did their roles well. Just being terrible.
oh yeah,
You know.
they're a little cartoonish, and even in the book, it's a little cartoonish. But
Yeah,
it
but
is what
it
it
works
is.
well. Yeah,
It
yeah,
does work
yeah.
well, because it's just like again, without that civil rights aspect, the film it still would have been good, but not quite as good. I feel like that element helped elevate it to such an
Yeah, I
extent.
mean,
Where you,
it absolutely it makes it a significant film, right? It's very important, socially important. I mean, the
yes.
U.S. was going through so much in that decade. I mean, a
Oh
whole lot,
yes.
right? It's a very
Most
intense,
definitely.
turbulent times. Civil rights movement was going on still at that time, right? And
Hmm.
towards the end of it, and keep in mind that this film was out maybe 2 or 3 years after the Civil Rights Act was passed. That was in
There you go.
'63, I think, and then the Voting Rights Act was the following year in '64, I think. And so there were still so many social challenges remaining, economical challenges, of course. And so, just a really significant, good film. And Norman Jewison did a good job. And oh yeah, one thing I always want to touch on is the soundtrack. It was awesome. Quincy Jones,
Oh
it's
yeah.
great.
Oh
Ray
yeah.
Charles in the intro. Oh man, I was like, yes, now this is music. After all the other stuff.
It was pretty good. It's pretty good sound. It's a pretty good soundtrack.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of the reasons why, or the main reason why I won Best Picture is because of the things you just mentioned earlier, the civil rights aspect. You know, it's just to really codify, this is the era we're in now. Let's legitimize it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I can understand that people criticize the Oscars for being too political at times for films that are undeserving. But
Right.
this is a film where it's very much deserving, I feel, because it's a good story. It really
It
is.
is,
It's
yeah.
a very good story, great performances, a good soundtrack. You know, it's a good cinematography, even if it's dingy and grimy and whatever. You know,
Yeah.
it's really an entertaining film from beginning to end, even if I have my own reservations. So if we're getting into the ratings here, I feel like giving it a 7.5 because it's just like the book did certain things much better. But
Yeah.
I don't want to hold it to that standard because that's a little too unfair. If I were to just rate just the film, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It is a very good film. It's very much worth watching. You will not regret
Yeah.
watching this.
Absolutely. I've seen it 3 times, and this is a movie I would watch again for sure. So yeah, definitely for me, 8 out of 10. Very good film. I really enjoyed this film. I think it's Sidney Poitier's favorite film he's done. I believe he's on the record saying that.
Yeah,
And
that
so
wouldn't
yeah,
surprise me. That
just a
wouldn't surprise
really,
me.
really good film, and I really enjoyed it. And yep, eight
He's
out of
a,
10.
he's a little indebted to it too. It became a little franchise at that time. They made 3 films.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and a TV series as well. And yep, absolutely.
There you go. All right, guys. So that is In the Heat of the Night. So the next one we're going to be talking about is a musical. It's going to be the last one for a while, thank God. Based on a classic Charles Dickens book. So yeah, see you next time
That's
for that
right.
one.
Yep, we got 2 more films left in the 60s. Not bad, not bad. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you've seen this movie, let us know. If you haven't, you should definitely watch this one. Take care, guys.